Okay, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I believe everyone's in order. I'm happy to start if you're ready for me to begin.
Yes, let's do the preliminaries, please.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're on the record at 11:04.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners April 14th, 2022 virtual hearing. My name is Nicholas Blendy, and I'm the board's Deputy Executive Secretary. As you can see on the screen, the outline of the packet I'm about to go forward for how today's proceedings are going to run. Um, Jumping right in, we are meeting on the Cisco Webex platform. It's the online meeting platform that the City of Baltimore uses to conduct all its virtual meetings. The Board of Estimates, the City Council, and the Planning Department have been using Webex to hold virtual meetings since the outbreak of COVID-19. Some basics: to fully use the system, members of the general public should have access to a laptop, an iPad, a smartphone, or similar device with a camera and microphone capabilities. If your electronic device does not have microphone capabilities, you will need to use the phone number provided below to dial in. To participate in the WebEx meeting, members of the public will have to download the app through their phones or devices, or also you could click the link on the screen here below to access the hearing online through your web browser. The access code, if you are required to provide it, is 2349-359-8907, and the password is all caps BLLC, and the number is 1234, no space. The board suggests that if you're going to use your smartphone, iPad, or similar device, that you download the application at least a day before today's hearing to ensure that you have proper access to the program. And if a member of the public does not have access to a computer or a similar device, they can call the following number below and enter the access code to listen only to today's proceedings. And the number is 408-418-9388, and the access code is 2349-359-8907. All materials, evidence, and related items for today's docket are available on the board's website. Copies of the short docket, which provide a brief description of the cases before the board, and the long docket, which include application materials, can be found under hyperlinks with today's date. We are observing a 48-hour rule for online hearings, meaning all evidence to be considered today by the board is found on our long docket, and we were accepting evidence from any party to the hearing up until 48 hours before today's hearing start time of 11 a.m., meaning all evidence must have been submitted no later than 11 a.m. Tuesday, April 12th of this year. If any evidence arrive to the board later than that date and time, it will not be considered by the board during today's hearing. All evidence should be submitted by email to the Assistant Executive Secretary of the board, Ms. Stacy Russell, at her email, stacy.russell@baltimorecity.gov. The board is not accepting documents in person today. Any amendment to an application must have been accepted on or before March 31st, 2022 for any case being heard today, meaning that if anyone attempts to amend the application after that time, the case will automatically be postponed. In addition to the posting of the docket online, licensees and applicants should have been mailed a letter instructing them of the dates and times of their virtual hearing. Procedures for how today is going to run. I will read the preliminary instructions and general ground rules, which I'm doing right now. I will then call the cases in the order as they are listed on the short docket. I will then ask for the applicant and his or her representative to identify themselves, and if applicable, have the applicant and any supporting witnesses be sworn in. The board will then will conduct a case hearing, provide an opportunity for the applicant and his or her representative to present their case to the board. The board may ask questions of the attorney or the applicant. At the conclusion of the case, the chair will ask individuals who are on the call or in the WebEx and have access to the correct technology if they would like to testify in support or opposition to any application. If an individual does wish to testify, you will need to use the raise your hand feature in WebEx. It's at the bottom of your screen. You will be recognized by me. Then you will have to identify yourselves, be sworn in by our court reporter, and only then may you testify. And a reminder, all individuals who testify are subject to questioning by the board and potentially cross-examination by the applicant or the attorney of the applicant. And remember, if you have access to a phone only, you will not be able to testify. You need to have your video on. After all testimony and evidence is presented to the board will then vote on the application before them, and Assistant Executive Secretary will then read exhibits into the record. The board is not authorized to discuss non-case related matters today, meaning it is serving in its quasi-judicial capacity and is empowered only to hear matters on today's docket before it. It is not authorized to discuss any other cases or policy related matters during today's hearing. Some general ground rules and helpful information for today's hearing. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking to minimize feedback and extra noise. Please identify yourself and state the spelling of your name before you speak. Please speak slowly and in clear voice so that the court reporter understands exactly what's being said and who's saying it. I note, in addition to the court reporter being present, this event is running live on Charm TV. Individuals who use profanity or disrespectful or unruly may be expelled from today's hearing. All attendees, applicants, licensees, and members of the public that wish to provide testimony during the hearings must be sworn prior to giving testimony. There's no physical evidence being taken. And again, absolutely no amendments to the application can be made during today's hearing. It will result in automatic postponement. Some helpful reminders for Webex: be prepared, read the materials ahead of time. Please have tested your video conferencing platform as well. Be in a good location, meaning a quiet space with good light and a strong internet connection so you can be seen and heard clearly. Be present. Please don't be multitasking. And lastly, above all, please be patient with yourself and others. Are there any preliminaries, Mr. Chair, or should we just move forward?
Let's call the first case.
Yes, sir. Then the first matter before the board is applicant Mario Rafael Minor, Leonard Calvin Knight Jr., and Leonard Ryan Rice, uncorked at Poppleton LLC, trading as trade name pending. Proposed premises are 101 North Street, Schroeder Street, Suite number 4, and this is a request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B of a Class A beer and wine license. Ms. Hecker is counsel, and applicants are also being moved into the room, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Ms. Hecker. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good morning, Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg, on behalf of the applicants. I believe Mr. Minor and Mr. Knight are here. Mr. Rice was unable to join us this morning, but with your permission, I'll proceed by way of a proffer.
You may, and we have your letter of March 17 as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we, as the board, I'm sure recalls, we were before you back in September for the transfer of a Class A beer and wine license to the Poppleton community, 101 North Schroeder Street. The space is adjacent to the New Market Fresh Grocery, and it's intended to be an amenity to the neighborhood and the adjacent grocery store. Permits have been issued, construction is underway, but it is proceeding more slowly than we had planned, as I think it's kind of a broader problem nationwide, if not worldwide these days. There have been supply chain issues and cost increases that were not anticipated. We will need probably every day of the 90-day hardship extension that we are asking the board to grant today, and we anticipate opening sometime this summer.
The commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Anyone else, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Hecker, on the basis then of the information provided in your letter of March 17, 2022 and your proffer this morning, I'd approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this license. Commissioner?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony material provided today, I approve the request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Based upon Ms. Hecker's letter of March 17th and her proffer, I too would grant a transfer hardship extension for 90 days.
Thank you. Good luck to Ms. Russell.
No, it's just for the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicants and counsel will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings.
Thank
Shall
you.
we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Then allow me some housekeeping. The next matter before the board today, applicant Austin Baldwin Haynes III, Interstate Maryland Beverage LLC, trading as True Baltimore. Proposed premises are located at 411 South Central Avenue. This is an application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor hotel motel license under, it's actually an amended application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor hotel motel license under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-903 C1 2 little I, which allows the board to issue a license for a hotel or motel that has one, at least seating between 75 and 100 individuals, and two, a capital investment of $500,000. Applicant is also requesting outdoor table service. Mr. Austin Haynes, Austin Barnes is, I believe, a baseball player. Austin Haynes and Monica Rodriguez are in the room, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Let's swear them in.
Are we making, this is the court reporter, are we making a general stipulation as to people's identity since I'm not there?
Yes.
Okay,
And Mr. Austin Haynes and Monica Rodriguez, if you can hit the start video button at the bottom of your app, please.
okay, I can't see who I'm swearing in, but if they can raise their right hand and let me know they have.
Yeah, we have one
I'm
of
in.
them with video on.
Yeah, Austin his video should be turning on any second.
There it goes.
Sorry, guys. Just had
That's
to run to the office.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So, good morning, Mr. Haynes. So this was approved previously for a different applicant, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair.
So what's going on?
So the applicant that was on the original license passed away, so we had to transfer and do an amendment.
And has anything else changed?
Nothing else has changed.
Okay. And Mr. Haynes, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So lived in Baltimore for 8 years. I work in the craft beer industry. I'm actually at a brewery right now. But I've lived in the city for 8 years. That's
Do you-
not
Yeah, so you said you've worked in the industry for 8 years, is that what you said?
or I've lived in Baltimore City for 8 years. Yes. I was involved with mobile canning and other like packaging distribution things for the last 6 or 7.
And are you familiar with the rules and regulations of the City Liquor Board?
Yes.
And are you and anyone else who's going to be serving alcohol going to be tip certified?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Blendy, when we originally approved this, was the outdoor table service on it?
Mr. Chair, point of clarification, this was postponed before the hearing, so the board did not approve it. I
It was not approved.
apologize. Correct. But the outdoor table service was on the original application. The only amendment to the application was the untimely decedent was replaced by Mr. Haynes.
Okay. Well, Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. Haynes, then perhaps you can tell us a little more about the operation.
So there is going to be no outdoor seating or anything like that. It's mainly just beer, wine in the gift shop sales.
Okay. So you're not requesting outdoor table service?
No, it's only for the gift shop.
Okay. All right. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
Right, so you've requested outdoor table service in your application. Are you withdrawing that request?
I would say yes. We don't have outdoor tables. We don't have that kind of service. It was
Okay.
mainly for sweet shop sales.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Is there anyone else who wishes to testify, Mr. Blendy?
If anyone wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Haynes and Ms. Rodriguez, on the basis of the materials contained in the application, the amended application, as well as your testimony this morning, I'd approve this amended application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor hotel motel license. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the amended application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor hotel motel license.
Based upon the amended application and the testimony today, I too would approve the amended application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor hotel motel license.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
I thank Mr. Haynes, Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicants will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to obtain the physical version of the license that was preliminarily approved by the board today.
Thank you.
Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Then, third item on the docket today is Applicant Ramshan Chetri and Tammy Rosetta Askew Lewis, BSRR LLC, trading as Clubhouse Bar and Grill. Premises are located at 4217 Erdman Avenue, and this is an application to transfer ownership only of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. And applicant Ramshan Chetri is being moved into the panel and is representing himself, Mr. Chair. He is in.
Morning, Mr. Chetri. We need to swear you in.
Please use the start video, Mr. Chetri, that would have appeared at the bottom when I moved you into the panel.
Start video right now.
Good morning.
Okay. Hello, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I do.
Morning, Mr. Chetri. Can you tell us about yourself, your experience with alcohol sales, and what your plans are for this location?
Actually, I'm working from like a couple of years in the liquor in this industry, and I moved here like as a manager from 6 months.
You've been managing this place for the last 6 months?
Yes, sir. And then I'm learning, and I've decided to like buy this, go for it.
So this place has had some problems in the past, but not in the last 6 months. Are you familiar with our rules and regulations?
Yes, sir.
And are you tip certified?
Yes, sir.
Will the people who will be handling alcohol at this tavern also be certified?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to be in charge of them, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll have in place rules and regulations taking care of making sure there are no sales to minors and that the other rules are taken care of properly?
Yes, sir.
All right, commissioners, do you have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Do you have others, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Mr. Chetri, on the basis then of the materials contained in the application as well as your testimony this morning, I vote to approve the application to transfer ownership of this BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Commissioners?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the application to transfer ownership of the BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license.
Based upon the application and the testimony today, I too would approve the application to transfer ownership of this BD7 license.
Ms. Russell?
Elizabeth for the record.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chetri. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
That concludes this matter before the board today. License or applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to physically complete the transfer that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
Yes.
Then a bit of housekeeping. Items number 5 and number 6 on the originally posted docket have been
Number 4,
postponed.
Mr. Blendy.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. I'm ambitious this morning, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Then item number 4 on today's docket is applicant David Bonnet and Paula Protani, Loading Dock Discount Liquors Incorporated, trading as Loading Dock. Premises are located at 2101 Fleet Street, and this is an application to transfer ownership of Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. Mr. Boozer is counsel, who I tried to not give his day before the board and is now.
Good morning, Mr. Boozer. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Frank Boozer on behalf of the applicants.
All right, can you tell us about this?
Yes, this is somewhat of an unfortunate story, Mr. Chairman. You know, Dick and Regina Bonnet have owned this location and property for close to 40 years, if not more. Unfortunately, during the COVID crisis in the early parts of Regina Bonnet, licensee passed away, and very recently, the longtime owner Dick Bonnet recently passed away. So both licensees are passed away. I have, you'll note in the file, David Bonnet, the son, and Paul Protani, they're going to be the new owners. And Paula has worked at the store for 32 years, Ms. Bertani?
Yes.
32 years. So this is somewhat of a carrying on of the dynasty. I'm sure the board's familiar with the loading dock in Fells Point. It's been there for as long as anyone can remember. The hours of the store have actually been curtailed during COVID. They started closing a couple hours earlier, and they may go back to what they were before COVID, which will be a maximum of 10 p.m. But this story is going to carry on, as I said, with the heirs and descendants of the original owners, and I think they'll enjoy to have a good reputation or great reputation in that part of the community, as they've always been. You know that Paul Bertani has been a resident of the city of Baltimore and owned property for a number of years. So I think I'll turn the laptop around to them if the board has any questions. They're fit and proper people to hold the license, meet all the qualifications, and the store is going to continue on as it has for the past 40 some years.
There have been difficulties over the years, but the last time was, I think, in 2016. So David and Paula are aware of that, I hope.
That's correct. Paula was working there at that time, for better for worse.
All right. Well, they need to be vigilant. The commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
We have public comment, Mr. Bundy.
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Mr. Boozer, on the basis then of the materials contained in their application and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve the application to transfer ownership of this Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the application to transfer ownership of the A beer, wine, and liquor license.
Based on the application, the proffer from Mr. Boozer, I too would approve the application to transfer ownership of this Class A beer, wine, and liquor license.
Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
I thank you, Mr. Boozer. Good luck to your clients.
Good to see you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicants and counsel will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. That concludes this matter before the board. Mr. Chair, shall I move forward properly this time? So housekeeping wise, items number 5 and number 6 have been postponed. That moves us to item number 7 on today's docket, which is applicant Timothy Langford Condor, Updy Avenue LLC, trading as trade name pending. This is an amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 3602 Hickory Avenue to 1014 West 36th Street, requesting outdoor table service and delivery of alcoholic beverages. I see Mr. Condor here, and Mr. Previs is also here. Mr. Previs, are you counsel on this?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Are you counsel?
Yes,
Okay, I'm moving you in. You didn't answer me in the preliminary, so you are now in the panel.
I had Wi-Fi trouble. I'm sorry.
Good morning, Ms. Prius. Please identify yourself for the record.
Mr. Previs?
There I am. Okay. Peter Previs on behalf of the applicant, Timothy Condor.
Mr. Prius, you're breaking up. I don't know whether we're going to be able to hear you.
Mr. Chairman, I can proceed by way of
You may, but I can't hear you.
okay. Is that any better?
That sounds good. All right, let's give it a try.
Okay. If there's any trouble, I'll run across the street to Mr. Kadensky's office, but let's see how far this goes. If I can proceed by way of a proffer, the existing license, BD7 license, was at Decline Devel at 3602 Hickory Avenue, which is basically across the street from this premises. Mr. Condor, through his entity Updy Avenue LLC, purchased that license. He previously had another prospective location and is now amending this application to move to the current location of 1014 West 36th Street. in the present plans, he has extensive plans that have been submitted with the application for a container type of bar on the outdoor patio area. This is going to be an extensive renovation and extensive cost. The initial proposal or plan is to service this area through food truck service. Ultimately, he plans to open the restaurant and that is adjoining as part of the building. But for right now, the proposal is to service this area through food trucks and various food trucks. Mr. Condor has extensive experience in alcohol service. His prior employment is as a concert promoter and has been involved in that for many, many years. So he is well aware of his requirements of serving alcohol to the public. He has a current alcohol awareness certificate. He has met with both the community association and the business association and had no opposition from either group for the proposal for this outdoor area. And he plans on being the full-time operator, and he does not intend to be open every night, and he does not intend to stay open well into the wee hours of the evening. There is plenty of fencing and screening in his plans so as not to disturb the neighbors. And as I said, he will not be keeping the place open where it's possible that any noise from the crowd inside would disturb the public. There will be no live entertainment. There are small speakers that are connected to the bar for background music, but no entertainment.
So is it going to be an all outdoor operation?
Initially, but once the build out is ready for the rest of for the restaurant, if this is approved, then he would be requesting an expansion of this license to include the interior of the restaurant.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Anyone else, Mr. Bundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature of the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Previous, then on the basis of the materials contained in the amended application and your proffer, I'd vote to approve this amended application, transfer ownership and location of this Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 3602 Hickory Avenue to 1014 West 36th Street with outdoor table service and delivery of alcoholic beverages. Commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and the materials provided today, I approve the amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 3602 Hickory Avenue to 1014 West 36th Street, and also requesting outdoor table service and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based upon the application and the proffer from Mr. Previs, I too would approve the amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class B D7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 3602 Hickory Avenue to 1014 West 36th Street with outdoor table service and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Previous. Good luck to Mr. Condor.
Thank you, sirs.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council and applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that was preliminarily approved by the board today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move to the next matter?
We are.
Then the next matter on the docket, number 8, has been postponed to a later hearing, which moves us to item number 9 on today's docket.
Aren't we at the City Escape Bar and Lounge?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chair, we postponed number 8. So you're correct, sir. So item number 9 on today's docket, applicant Terry M. Jefferson and Cameron Jefferson, City Escape Bar and Lounge LLC, trading as City Escape Bar and Lounge. Premises are located at 2213 to 15 Kirk Avenue. This is a request for a 90-day transfer hardship extension under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Mr. Fogelman is counsel, and applicants are also here, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Fogelman. Please identify yourself.
You may be muted, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman, on behalf of the applicant in this matter at 2213 Kirk Avenue. Miss Terry Jefferson may be in the meeting, but I'm happy to proffer. Again, you hear it all the time, but supply chain labor shortages, it's just taken longer to get inspections done. Additionally, there's some problems at the state level with the comptroller's office as far as clearing state tax holds. The state doesn't seem to have the ability to look at the documents, recent sales tax documents filed by many of my clients. And so Ms. Jefferson's run into these issues. So we're just asking for that 90 days from March 22nd to finish the transfer. Thank you.
Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Anyone else, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Mr. Fogelman, on the basis then of the letter you submitted on March 18, 2022 and your proffer this morning, I would vote to approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this BD7 license. Commissioner?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the request for transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Based upon the March 18th letter from Mr. Fogelman and his proffer, I too would grant a transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicants will receive follow-up correspondence from this board staff with the results of today's proceedings. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I think the next one is postponed, Mr. Blendy.
Oh, no, Mr.
I'm here. Yeah.
No, Mr. Fogelman, it was, Mr. Chair, it was number 9, 200 South Haven Street that was postponed.
Isn't that the next one?
No, that was number 8, sir.
Oh, I guess they're in my book backwards then. All right.
So, sorry about that.
Okay.
So we're on number 10, which is the Nanticoke Street, and Mr. Fogelman is counsel, so I will call the case if you're prepared, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Item number 10 on today's docket is applicant Jasmine Jones, Chetta Johns LLC, trading as Chetta Johns. Premises are located at 1184 to 86 Nanticoke Street, and this is another transfer hardship extension request of 90 days under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, and Mr. Fogelman is counsel.
Once more, Mr. Fogelman, please.
Yes, thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of applicants who are in a similar position with inspections and work done and request an additional 90 days from March 29th of this year. Thank you.
Commissioners?
Yeah, no questions.
No questions.
Anyone else, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
All right, Mr. Fogelman, on the basis then of your letter to the board of March 14, 2022 and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this BD7 license. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Based upon the March 14th letter and the proffer from Mr. Fogelman, I too would approve the transfer hardship extension for 90 days.
Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Fogelman. I think you got the next one too.
Yes.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings. So the next matter, Mr. Chair.
Please.
And the next matter is item number 11 on today's docket. Applicants Edwin Aguilar and Danny Lopez, Orion LLC, trading as Orion's Pub. Premises are located at 53 to 55 South Crescent Street. This is another request for a 90-day transfer hardship extension under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B for a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license.
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of applicants. Your Honor, this is yet another case. It's sort of it's a lot of aftershocks of COVID-19. There's a lot of back taxes owed. My client simply ran out of time in the 180 days because they entered into some payment plan with the state for sales tax, but it didn't get to the liquor board in time. So we're hoping we don't need all of these 90 days from March 22nd. So I'd ask for the 90-day extension. Thank you.
Commissioners?
No questions. No questions, sorry.
Okay. Anyone else, Mr. Bundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Fogelman, on the basis then of your letter to the board of March 22, 2022, and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this Class BD7 license. Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, based on testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Based upon the March 22nd letter and the proffer from Mr. Fogelman, I too would approve a transfer hardship extension for 90 days.
Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fogelman.
And Your Honor, very briefly, I just want to say this might be the last WebEx hearing we do. I've done a lot of them all over the state the last 2 years, and I got to say to you, the commissioners and the staff, it's been running great. You all have been just done a great job through this. So I look forward to seeing you at City Hall soon. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Then the next 4 matters are all represented by Mr. Kadensky. And item number 12 on today's docket, applicants Ravinder Singh and Antonio Edward Ricks, S&S Liquors LLC, trading as Belvedere Plaza Liquors. Premises are located at 5658 The Alameda, and this is an application to transfer ownership of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license and requesting delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Morning, Mr. Kadensky. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Melvin J. Kadensky, representing the applicant. In this case, this is a application for transfer of an existing liquor store. It's a rather large store. The applicant, Mr. Singh, has had about a year's worth of experience working in other liquor stores, never had any problem there. He has been monitoring this business. He's moving from his New Jersey location to this location very shortly once we arrange to have a settlement. He's familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board. He's going to have the alcohol awareness certificate. He will make sure anyone that is serving alcohol will be alcohol certified and have the certificates. He plans on having 3 or 4 employees, and he will hire from the neighborhood. And he will keep some of the employees that are there now and rely on them for advice in how to run the store. I've shown him the record of the place indicating that there was a prior sale to minor back, I think, in 2019. He's aware of that. He knows to make sure to check all the licenses and everything that needs necessary for sale to an adult.
Okay, commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Anyone else wish to testify, Mr. Bundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chairman.
On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, as well as the proffer from Mr. Kadensky, I vote to approve the application to transfer ownership of this Class A beer, wine, and liquor license with delivery of alcoholic beverages. Commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on testimony and materials provided today, I approve the application to transfer ownership of a beer, wine, and liquor license, and also requesting delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based upon the application, the proffer from Mr. Kadinsky, I too would approve the application to transfer ownership with the delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Katansky. Good luck to your client.
All right, thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee or applicant and council will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's proceedings. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Then the next matter before the board, item number 13, is applicants James Paul Jones and Wundim Seyum Demisi, Gaiety 2 Liquors Incorporated, trading as Gaiety Liquors. Premises are located at 412 East Baltimore Street, and this is an amended application to transfer ownership only of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. Both Mr. Demisi is here, and Mr. Kadinsky is counsel.
Again, Mr. Katansky, please.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadinsky representing the applicant. This was already been approved by the board and license issue. The problem was that we had originally put the application, all the same applicants under Gaiety Liquors, Inc. And when we went to apply for the EIN numbers, the government, unfortunately, it's our government, wouldn't recognize Gaiety Liquors, Inc. because it was a prior corporation that was there. So we had to file Gaiety 2 Liquors, had a number 2, and it went through. And other than that, in all other respects, there's no changes at all in there, and they're actually in their operating now.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Other testimony, Mr. Bundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. Katansky, on the basis of the amended application and your proffer, I vote to approve the amended application to transfer ownership of this Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the amended application of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license to transfer ownership.
Based upon the application, amended application that is, and the proffer from Mr. Kadinsky, I too would approve the amended application to transfer ownership.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
All right, thank you again, Mr. Katansky. Good luck to your client.
All right, thank you very much.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensing council will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Next matter, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Then item number 14 on today's docket, applicants Iralda de la Cruz and Victor Manuel de la Cruz, Navarro LLC, trading as trade name pending. Proposed premises are located at 4701 to 03 Eastern Avenue. And this is an application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-903C2, requiring $500,000 in capital investment in restaurants, fixtures, and facilities, 51% of food sales, and seating capacity for 75, but not more than 150 individuals. Mr. Kadinsky is counsel.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadinsky representing the applicants. This is a particular location. The board actually approved a transfer to the same 2 applicants back in 2018, was a Class D license. Unfortunately, the time ran out when they could go ahead and complete the transfer, and they were not able to get the license transfer. Hence, they have to go ahead and apply for a new Class B license. Miss Dela Cruz has been up in that area. She has another restaurant in the Highlandtown area. This is probably more aptly referred to as Greektown. And the other restaurant does not have a liquor license. She's been up there for 9 years. She's familiar with the area. She's familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board, and will be alcohol certified. And all of the members that will be dispensing alcohol will be alcohol certified. The floor plans have been submitted. There's seats between roughly 80 to 100 people in 2 floors. Menu's been submitted, and we're waiting now for the appraisal from Mr. Melnick. He had indicated to me that it would be come in around $550,000, which would satisfy the requirements. Although we don't have it right now, it will be submitted, and they understand that before the license could be granted, they have to meet all those criteria as well as a appropriate use and occupancy certificate.
Okay, commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Public have testimony, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. Kennedy, then based on the materials contained in the application and conditioned on their satisfying all the requirements, I would, as well as based on your proffer, I'd vote to approve this application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license.
Based upon the application and the proffer from Mr. Kadinsky, I too would approve the new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license contingent upon validation of the meeting the requirements on the investment threshold.
Ms. Russell?
No service for the record.
Thank you again, Mr. Kennedy. Good luck to Ms. Dela Cruz.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicants will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to obtain the new Class B beer, wine, and liquor license that the board preliminarily approved today. The last matter, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Then the final matter on today's docket, applicant Mia L. Conway and Dwaru A. Bullock Jr., Winston Lounge Bar and Grill LLC, trading as trade name pending. Premises are located at 2343 East Monument Street, and this is an amended application to transfer ownership of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and requesting delivery of alcoholic beverages. Mr. Kadinsky is counsel.
One more
Once
time.
again, for the record, Melvin J. Kadinsky representing the applicants. Here's another case where there were two applicants were approved by the board. However, what they did not advise everybody of is that they had formed an LLC known as Winston's Lounge Bar and Grill LLC. So as a consequence, all the traders' sales tax all was issued in the name of LLC, not in their individual names, requiring the amended application to make sure that Winston Lounge Bar and Grill LLC is be the license holder. And other than that, everything else is exactly the same as approved by the board, and the place is open and operating.
When did we approve it?
Probably maybe a half a year ago.
Okay.
A little bit more than that because 6 months was running.
All right. So we, I guess at that time, addressed the fact that they had a violation about a year ago.
It might have been, there was a death here. It could have been, I'm not really sure.
Okay. It was a prohibited hours thing, so it might have been one of those. All right.
For the record, Mr. Chair, on March the 3rd, 2021, the board approved. I'm sorry. Yeah. On at the February 25th, 2021 hearing, that is when the board approved the transfer.
Okay. And it was shortly after that that they had the violation. All right. Well, you will, I hope, admonish them that they need to be very careful about that, Mr. Kadinsky.
Sitting here right here with me.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Do we have public testimony, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chairman, no one has raised their hand.
Mr. Kadinsky, on the basis then of the materials contained in the amended application as well as your proffer, I vote to approve the amended application to transfer ownership of this BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license with delivery of alcoholic beverages. Commissioner?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the amended application to transfer ownership of a BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, and also request for delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based upon the proffer and the amended application, I too would approve this amended application, transfer ownership with the delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
And thank you one last time, Mr. Knansky. Good luck to your clients.
And then all of you have a happy holiday. And is Mr. Fogelman running for office?
He may be.
Okay,
That,
thank you.
that concludes this matter before the board. Applicants and council will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer of ownership, which by law must be, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. And lastly, staff would like to remind applicant that this particular location is within a restrictive hours zone in legislative alcoholic beverages district 45 with hours of operation that may not exceed 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Thank you.
Does that conclude our docket, Mr. Blendy?
It does indeed, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
You want to read the adjournment then?
I'd be happy to do so. The board will stand in recess until April the 28th, 2022. The board shall post on its website, provide notice to applicants and or attorneys, and conduct an in-person hearing on that date. I note that the April 28th, 2022 hearing will mark the board's return to in-person hearings to be held at City Hall, room 215, the Board of Estimates room. Masks remain required for all public hearings, so please wear your masks, and you will be required to wear at the hearing. I do remind you that attendees to City Hall may be required to provide identification and other requirements to enter at the front door. So please have your identification if you wish to attend the hearing on the 28th. Then lastly, please call our office at 410-396-4377 between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. with any questions or concerns that you might have on this matter or any others.
Thank you. As always, thanks to my fellow commissioners, to the staff of the Liquor Board for a great job today. And we look forward to getting back in person in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I hope all those who celebrate religious and other holidays will have a pleasant weekend and week ahead, and we'll see you on the 28th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Off the record, sir.
Yes.
We are off the record at 11:56.
All right. Have a wonderful holiday weekend, everyone. It's a city holiday.